Welcome dear student and Jai Swaminarayan. Today I will start your new chapter, chapter number 5, Laws of the Motion. Dear student, in the previous chapter we were discussed about the motion. Motion in a straight line, motion in a plane, one dimensional motion, two dimensional motion and three dimensional motion. So the branch of the physics which deals with the study of the motion is called the mechanics. Now mechanics is divided into the two categories, kinematics and the dynamics. Kinematics is a branch of the physics which deals with the motion of the object without its causes, right? So in the chapter number 3 and chapter number 4 we will discuss about the motion of the object, right, without its causes. Now, in this chapter number 4 and the chapter number 5, we will discuss about the different physical quantities regarding a motion like a displacement, path length, velocity, acceleration, right? That all the things we will discuss in the chapter number 3 and 4. Now second branch of the mechanics is a dynamics, right? Dynamics is a branch of the physics which deals with the motion of the object with its causes and the internal properties of the object. So dear student, in this chapter we study about the motion of the object with its causes, right, with its internal properties, right. And so this object, when the object is in the motion, in this chapter we will discuss about a reason behind the motion of the object. So dear student, in the previous chapter, we will discuss about a motion of the object. Motion in a straight line, motion in a plane, two-dimensional motion, three-dimensional motion, one-dimensional motion, that all the things is included in the mechanics, right? So what is the mechanics? So mechanics is a branch of the physics which deals with the motion of the object. Now mechanics is further divided into the two categories. First one is the kinematics and second one is the dynamics. So what is the kinematics? Kinematics is a branch of the physics which deals with the motion of the object without its causes. That were the chapter that we were discussed in the chapter number 3 and chapter number 4. In the chapter number 3 and chapter number 4, we were discussed the motion of the object. What is the motion? What are the different types of the motion? What are the different physical quantities associated with the motion, right? Like displacement, path length, velocity, acceleration, right? But in this chapter number 3 and 4, we were not discussed the reason behind the motion of the object, cause behind the motion of the object, right? So the cause behind the motion of the object we will discuss in the branch dynamics. So now dear student, dynamics we will discuss the branch of the mechanics, dynamics. What is the dynamics? Dynamics is a branch of the mechanics which deals with the study of the motion of the object with its causes and the internal properties of the matter, right? So in this chapter we will study the dynamics branch of the mechanics. So motion, we will study the motion of the object with its causes and the internal property of the object, right? So dear student, fundamental cause behind the motion, do you know the fundamental cause behind the motion? So dear student, we know that the fundamental reason behind the motion of the object is a force. So first of all, let me discuss what do you mean by the force and what is the effect of the force on the object, right? So like look at the pictures, you can see the pictures. First, a trolley moves along the direction we push it. The drawer is pulled by applying a force. Third figure, the hockey stick hits the ball forward, right? So in this all the pictures, look at the first picture, a boy applying a force on the trolley, push force on the trolley and the trolley change its position, so that we can say that the trolley is in the motion. Second, when we apply a pull force on the drawer change its position, we can say that a drawer is in the motion. So when we hit the ball, hitting, here the pushing, pulling, hitting, object change their state of the motion, right? So this point, so here the pushing, pulling, hitting of the object, lifting of any object, this all the type of the force, right? So here looking, lifting the books, stretching a rubber band, right? So this all the type of the activity which we do in our daily life is a different form of the force. Lifting a book, we require a force. To lift a book, we require a force. Stretch a rubber band, we require to apply a force, right? So a force is a effort that changes the state of an object at a rest or at a motion. So what is the force? A force is an effort that changes the state of an object at a rest or at a motion. So force is a physical quantity which changes the state of the object, rest to the motion or motion to the rest. For example, to open a door, either we applying a push or a pull force, right? A drawer is pulled to open and pushed to close. So here the push and pull is called the force, right? So it is the effort that changes the state of the object is called the force. So dear student, force is an effort that changes the state of an object, right? Understand, dear student? Now, what are the effect of the force on the body? The force can make a stationary body into the motion, right? What is force and what are the effect of the force? What is the force? Force is an effort that changes the state of the object at a rest or at a motion. Now, effect of the force. The force can make a stationary body into the motion. For example, a football can be moved by kicking it. When we applying a force to the football, it can move from the stationary steady condition to the motion by applying a force. So by the force can make a stationary body into the motion, right? Suppose if we are applying a force to the trolley will move in the direction of the force, right? Second, the force can stop a moving body. For example, by applying a brake, a running cycle or a running vehicle can be stopped by applying a force, right? A running vehicle can be stopped by applying a force. So force can stop a moving body. Third effect of the force can change the direction of the moving object. For example, by applying a force by moving handles, the direction of the running bicycle can be changed, right? So look at this picture. By applying a force on the running bicycle, we can change the direction of the running bicycle, right? Similarly, by moving a steering of the car, the direction of the car will be changed. Similarly, a cricketer hits the cricket ball, the direction of the motion of the cricket ball will change, right? So third effect of the force is force can change the direction of the moving object, right? Fourth effect, the force can change the speed of the moving body, right? If we applying a more amount of the force, the speed of the running vehicle is increases. If we applying a force, the speed of the running vehicle can be decreases. The speed of the object, speed of the moving body can be increased or decreased by applying a force, right? And last and the fifth effect is force can change the shape and the size of the object, right? By hammering a block of a metal can be turned into the thin shape, right? Thin sheet. So the force can change the shape of the object, size of the object. By hammering, a stone can be broken into the different pieces, right? So that are the effect of the force on the body. So what are the effect of the force on the body? Let us revise all the point, right? Effect of the force on the body. So first effect, force can make a stationary body into the motion. Second, force can stop a moving body into the rest condition, right? Third, force can change the direction of the moving object. Fourth, force can change the speed of the moving body. And fifth, force can change the shape and the size of the object, right? So that are the effect of the force on the object. Understand, dear student? So dear student, understand? Now in all this above example, we are taken that all the force, to exert the force on the body, we require to contact a body with each other. So this type of the force is known as the contact force, right? So the contact force is the external agency of the force is in contact with the object, right? This force is called the contact force. So there are two types of the contact force in the direction of the surface, and the contact forces are in the perpendicular direction of the forces, right? So here the contact force in the direction of the surface are known as the friction force, and the contact force is in the direction perpendicular to the surface are called the normal force. So dear student, the external agency of the force in contact with the object, these are called the contact force. But some forces we are not, the objects are not contact with the body. So the external agencies can exert a force on a body even from a distance without contact is called the field force. For example, a stone released from the top of the building accelerate downward due to the gravitational pull of the earth, right? So when the stone is released from the top of the building, accelerate downwards due to the gravitational force of the earth. So here the object is moved under the gravitational field. A bar magnet can attract an iron nails from a distance. So here the magnetic force is exerted. So this type of the gravitational force, magnetic force, electric force are the example of the field force. For that, the on a body the exerts the force on a body even from a distance without any contact, right? So dear student, understand contact forces and the field forces, right? Now, the Aristotle's fallacy, law of the motion, right? So the Greek philosopher Aristotle asserted that the natural state of the body is the state of the rest. Aristotle shows that the natural state of the body is the state of the rest, right? Every body in the motion tends to slow down and come to the rest. So Aristotle states that so everybody which are in the motion tends to slow down and come to the rest, and the external force is necessary to maintain its motion, right? For example, suppose we are moving with the bicycle, and if you stop pedaling the bicycle will stop after traveling a certain distance, right? And for that, the for example, a cart on a road has to be constantly pushed to keep in the motion. A cart on a road has to be constantly pushed to keep in the motion. We require an external force. Continuous external force is necessary to maintain its motion, right? So if we stop to applying the external force, the object will be comes to the rest, right? So for example, suppose cycling we are cycling with by applying a pedal, and if we stop the applying the pedal, the bicycle will stop after traveling a certain distance. But to continue the motion of the bicycle, we require to applying a continuous force by applying a pedaling, right? So the external force, Aristotle states that a external force is necessary to maintain its motion. For example, we take another example, or we take any other example from this. A cart on a road has to be constantly pushed to keep in the motion. If we stop the applying of pushed force on the cart will be stopped after traveling a certain distance. So Aristotle said that a constant force is required by pedaling for the continuous motion of the bicycle. And from this observation, according to the Aristotle's law of the motion, an external force is required to keep a body in the motion. But the Aristotle's law were proved wrong by the Galileo. Galileo was observed that the external force is required to counter the opposing force of the friction to keep it in the motion. But if we remove the friction force, right, if the object is moving on a frictionless surface. If we remove the friction force, the object will continue to move without applying any force, right? So where Galileo was proved that the Aristotle's law for the motion was wrong, right? So Galileo observed that the external force is required to counter the opposing force of the friction. But if we remove the friction force, the object will move with the uniform motion, right? So for example, if we running with the bicycle and stop applying a force by a pedaling, the bicycle will stop after traveling a certain distance. But why? Because of the friction force of the bicycle, wheel of the bicycle and the road, right? But if we remove the friction force, the bicycle will move continue with the uniform speed, right? So if there is extra, the Galileo states that there is no force is required to move a uniform motion of the object, right? So dear student, understand Aristotle's law of the motion. Aristotle states that an external force is required to keep the body continuously in the motion. But Galileo were proved wrong, right? Aristotle's law was proved wrong by the Galileo. Galileo states that the external force is required for the motion, but to encounter the opposing force of the friction, right? The friction force is acting on the object, and if we applying the external force to encounter the friction force, the object will move continuously with the uniform motion. So dear student, here by the several experiment, Galileo was proved that the Aristotle law was wrong. So let us discuss the Galileo's experiment, right? So Galileo's experiment of the motion of an object on an inclined plane. Galileo shows that the object moves with a constant speed when no force acts on them. So if the resultant external force, if there is no force acting on the object moves with the constant speed. Or we can say that the Galileo shows that the object moves with the uniform speed when there is a no force acting on the object, right? So first shows that the Galileo shows that by this experiment the object moves with the constant speed when no external force acting on the object, right? So first experiment, when a marble rolls down an inclined plane. So second Galileo takes an inclined plane, like look at this figure, right? And at the top of the inclined plane, Galileo put a one marble and it moves in the downward direction. And another same slope inclined plane, a marble will move in the upward direction. So when a marble rolls down an inclined plane, its velocity increases, and when it goes up on the second inclined plane, its velocity decreases. So second experiment of the Galileo's experiment is that on a two inclined plane. So when an inclined plane a marble rolls down, the object is moving down in an inclined plane, its velocity is increases, and when the object is move in up in an inclined plane, its velocity is decreases, right? So here the marbles falls under the unbalanced force of the gravity as it rolls down and attains a definite velocity by the time it reaches to the bottom. So when the marble rolls down, it experiences the gravitational force acting on the marble, right? And due to this gravitational force, the marble rolls down, and at the bottom of the inclined plane it attains the some amount of the velocity. So what amount of the velocity the object attained at the bottom of the inclined plane we will see later on in this chapter, right? So Galileo states that when the marble falls under the gravitational force, it attains the some amount of the velocity at the bottom. Now if inclination of the both the plane are equal, then the marble will reach the same height which it rolled down, right? So if Galileo's third experiment taken that two inclined plane of the same slope, right? So if the inclination of both the slope are same, so if we release the marble at the some point here, the on the second plane the marble reach to the same height, right? So the height of the marble reached on the second place is same as height of the marble that we release from the first plane, right? Understand, dear student? So first point, important point is that when there is no force acting on the object moves with the constant speed, with the uniform speed. In an inclined plane, when the marble rolls down, its velocity increases. At the bottom of the plane, it retains the some amount of the velocity. And in the inclined plane, if the object goes up in the inclined plane, its velocity is decreases. And at the highest point, right, the velocity of the object becomes zero, right? So if the inclination of the both the plane are equal, the marble will reach on the second inclined plane is same height which it rolled down from the first plane, right? So now if the inclination of the second plane is decreases, it will travel more distance to reach the original height, right? So suppose here see that first inclination and the second inclination, right? So if the marble rolls down from the first inclination, on the second inclination the marble reaches to the same height. So height of the marble at the both the inclined plane are same according to the Galileo, right? So now if we reduce the slope of the second inclination from this much slope to the this slope, right, the object, the marble, has to travel a more distance to reach the original height. So in the this first, second and third, and if we make a second plane horizontal, right? So here if the inclination of the second plane is decreases, it will travel a more distance to reach the original height. Now if the inclination of the second plane were ultimately made the horizontal, the slope is reduced to the zero. The marble would continue to travel forever trying to reach the same height that it was released from. But we can say that the marble will go to the infinite distance, right? So if we decreasing the inclination, the marble will travel more and more distance. And if the slope of the second plane is reduced to the zero, the marble will continue to travel at an infinite distance to reach at the same height. But an unbalanced force is required to change the motion of the marble, but no force is needed to sustain the uniform motion of the marble, right? So it is difficult to explain this, right? It is difficult to explain this because if we made a second plane horizontal, the marble will go infinite distance. It is difficult to understand, but if we understand the practical application, if we release the marble from the slope, right, at the horizontal distance, marble travels the some distance and reach to the stationary, returns to the rest, right? Why? Because in the practical situation, right, the presence of the friction force acting on the marble which oppose the motion of the marble, right? And due to the friction force, it will stop the motion of the marble, right? So in the practical situation, it is difficult to achieve a zero unbalanced force. There is because of the presence of the friction force acting opposing to the direction of the motion, right? So in the practical, the marble stop after traveling a some distance, right? So if we remove the friction force, right, the marble will move a more and more distance. So if you take a two different surface, one is a rough surface and one is a smooth surface, and release the two marbles with the same force, in the rough surface marble will stop before than the smooth surface, because in the rough surface there will be a more friction compared to the smooth surface. So friction force, what is the friction force? Friction force is the force that opposes the motion of the object due to the roughness of the surface. If you take a microscopic roughness in the due to the microscopic roughness in the any smooth surface, the friction force is acting on the object, right? So dear student, understand the Galileo's or the all the experiments. Galileo states that if there is no friction force acting on the object, if there is no opposing friction force acting on the object will move with the uniform speed, right? So this law is called the Galileo's law of the motion. So dear student, I hope that you will understand about the Galileo's experiment of the motion, right? Now, from the Galileo's ideas, the Newton further studies the idea of the force on the object and the motion, and present the fundamental laws that governs the motion of the object, and that laws are called the Newton's law of the motion. So Newton's first law of the motion is nothing but the Galileo's law of the inertia. So what is the Newton first law of the motion? The Newton first law of the motion states that an object remains in the state of the rest or in the uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change that state by applying a force. Unless and until if it doesn't apply any force on the object, any external force on the object remains in the state of the rest or in the uniform motion. This statement is known as the Newton's first law of the motion. And the Galileo also states that the object remains retain its state until and unless if it doesn't apply any external force, unbalanced force on the object, right? So the Newton first law of the motion states that an object remains in the state of the rest or in a uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to the change that state by applying a force, right? So if it doesn't apply any external force on the object remains in the object retain its state of the rest or the state of the uniform motion, right? If the object moving with the constant speed, and if it doesn't apply any external force, if the external force acting on the object is zero, right, it moves with the uniform speed, it moves with the constant speed, right? In the other word, all the object resist a change in their state of the motion, and the tendency of the object to remain in the state of the rest or in the uniform motion is called the inertia of the object. So the Newton first law of the motion is called the law of the inertia, and it is the Galileo's law of the inertia also. So Newton first law is nothing but the Galileo's law of the inertia. So what is the inertia? Inertia is the property of the object to retain its state of the rest or the state of the uniform motion, right? So dear student, here in the textbook, the Newton's law states that if the net external force on a body is zero, its acceleration is zero. And acceleration can be non-zero only if there is net external force on the body. So if the net external force acting on the body is zero, the acceleration of the body is zero. And if there is net external force acting on the body, the acceleration can be a non-zero object, right? So dear student, understand the Newton first law of the motion. An object remains in a state of a rest or in a uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to the change that state by applying a external force. So if he doesn't apply any external force, the object remains in the state of the rest if it is rest, right? If it would rest, and the object retain its uniform motion when it is moving with the constant speed, right? So if there is no external force applied on the body, the acceleration of the body is zero. So Newton gives that the state of the rest and the state of the uniform motion are both same state. In both the case, the acceleration of the object will be zero, right? So if there is external force acting on the apply is not zero, so it change its state from the rest to the motion, it change motion from the motion to the rest, or it change its motion of the object. And in all this case, right, there will be some net acceleration produced in the object, right? So in the other words, all the object resist a change in their state of the motion, and the tendency of the object to remain in the state of the rest or the state of the uniform motion is called the inertia, and that's why the first law of the motion is known as the law of the inertia, right? So all the body has some amount of the inertia, and all the body has a property to resist the change, to retain its state, and this property is called the inertia of the object, right? So if we consider, for example, so we take the example of the Newton first law. If we put a one book on the desk, right, or on the table, if it doesn't apply any external force on the book, right, the book remains stationary at this point, right? So if we take the another example, if the car is moving with the constant speed, right, or we can say the car is moving in a uniform motion, if it doesn't apply any external force, right, net external unbalanced force, the car is continuously moving with the constant speed. So these are the example of the Newton first law, right? If there is no external force acting on the object, the object remains in the state of the rest or in the uniform motion, right? And this law is called the law of the inertia. So what are the example of the inertia? If a striker hits a pile of the coins on a carom board, right, the lowest coin moves out, and due to the inertia of the rest, the other coins falls down, right? You know the game of playing a caroms, and if you take a piles of the carom coins, right, and if you strike with the striker to the lowest coin, so lowest coin moves out, but the all other coins remain stationary at this point, fall down due to the inertia of the all other coin. So if a coin is placed on a playing card or a tumbler is flicked, right, with the finger, due to the inertia of the race, the coins fall down into the tumbler, right? When we travel in a car and a driver applies the brake suddenly, we tends to fall forward due to the inertia of the motion. So these all are the examples of the inertia. So dear student, understand what do you mean by the inertia? So a body at a rest continues to be a rest, and a body in a motion continue to be in the motion. This property of the body is called the inertia. So the inertia of the body is the measured by the magnitude of the force required to change the state of the body, right? So here the according to the Newton first law of the motion, the force, right, is required to change the state of the body. If the inertia of the body is the measured by the magnitude of the force required to change the state of the body. So force is a physical quantity required to change the state of the body. So the Newton first law gives the definition of the force, right? The force required to change the state of the heavy body is more than the force required to change the state of the lighter body, right? So heavy body we require a more force, light body we require a less force. This is because of that the mass of the heavy body is a more than the mass of the lighter body. So mass of the body is the measure of its inertia, right? So what is the mass? The mass of the body is the measure of the inertia. And to change the inertia of the body, to change the inertia that resists the motion of the object, we require a force. So dear student, here the Newton first law gives the definition of the force. Force is a physical quantity which require to change. Force is an external agency which require to change the inertia of the body, which require to change the state of the body. So understand dear student or not?